our regular segment where we bring in a subject matter expert to tell us what's exciting and new in our core ArcGIS products.
Esri has recently released a whole bunch of new updates to our technology. So to bring you up to date with all the new features and enhancements, we have invited all of our GeoGeeks to tell you 3 things you need to know about their technology of interest.
To start us off, Carson Smulders is back. He's our GeoGeek for all things ArcGIS Online, and he's joining us today from Toronto. Hi, Carson. Welcome back.
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm here to talk about the recent ArcGIS Online release. There's a lot of really cool features in this release, a lot of flashy things. The expansion of analysis tools in Map Viewer is incredible. It's really powerful and becoming a really cool application for doing analysis in ArcGIS Online. But I wanted to focus on some somewhat less flashy, but potentially just as important features that have been released. The first one that I wanted to talk about was related records. So to me, one of the most underrated but highly used functionalities in ArcGIS Online are related records. They can really drive field collection workflows in field maps, but having the right tools to manage them is really important. And earlier this year, related record editing was added to the Map Viewer, which was a great step for being able to manage this type of data. With this release now, we have the ability to create feature layers with related records that relate to other feature layers. So before, you could only relate feature layers to other tables within the same feature service, but now you can build associations between geographic features in ArcGIS Online. So you can create a related record between a point layer and a line layer, for example, in the same feature service. So that's really cool. As of this release, you can also add related record form elements to related features as well. So before, it's a little bit strange, but before you couldn't add the related record form element to a related feature. So you couldn't build nested relationships and access them through the Map Viewer. You could build them, but you couldn't edit them. So now, let's say you had a feature class that relates to table A, and that table relates to another table, we'll call it table B. You would not have been able to add that related record form element to table A in order to access table B. So this allows you to build nested editing functionality, which you can traverse when performing inspections, which is really cool. The edit widget within Experience Builder has also this capability now to edit related records. Just a reminder, Web App Builder is being retired in the 4th quarter of 2025. So planning for and taking advantage of this capability in Experience Builder will allow you to transition with ease. So that's the
huge.
first thing. Yeah, it's a big step for related record editing. You could do a lot in field maps, but with the expansion into Map Viewer, it makes things a lot easier to manage.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what's your second one in your big top 3 list?
Yes, the second one, ArcGIS Dashboards. So these are some seemingly minor improvements in ArcGIS Dashboards, but I think it goes a long way to improve user experience. To me, Dashboards is one of the most, if not the most useful application in ArcGIS Online for organizations. We see it being used all the time in technical support. It's a really popular tool for public-facing applications and internal applications. And there are a couple of things that have come out that I wanted to highlight. First, the category selector, which is one of the primary drivers of any dashboard, now includes a contains operator. So it doesn't sound that big of a deal, but this is great news for data that isn't what I like to call sort of like tutorial clean. An example would be being able to filter for and look at data from a Survey 123 multiple choice field list. So where that data is sort of separated by commas in your field, you can use that contains operator to filter for that kind of data. This makes it much easier to include and work with data that isn't as manicured, which is a lot of our data realistically. The other improvement I wanted to touch on is the ability to initiate layer actions just by clicking on a feature in the map to select it. So if you've ever worked with dashboards, you'll know that in order to select a feature in the map, a user actually had to use a selection tool. had to actively go into the map widget and use a selection tool to be able to draw a little circle or draw a square around a point to be able to select it. Now it's intuitive. You can just use your mouse, click on a point, and you can drive layer actions that way. So that allows you to filter your widgets just by clicking on a feature in the map. So for new users of dashboards, for non-GIS users, this wasn't intuitive before, and it wasn't intuitive if you were making them, if you've ever made dashboards. So this can really help to drive user experience in dashboards, and that was something that I was very happy to see. There's also now web scene support for dashboards, which is really cool. You can use web scenes and layers within them to drive widgets. So that's number 2.
Wow. That's great. I'm really excited about the contains operator. I know I make a lot of dashboards. We've made some together, and they are good, but they're not the cleanest they could be, and I feel like that will really help cut down on some of the selectors. So big add, small thing, but big
thing,
change.
but yeah. You may miss it in the in the release notes for ArcGIS Online, but it does make a huge difference.
Yeah. Thanks.
So the last thing I wanted to touch on is security. Security is really big nowadays. It's something that a lot of organizations are focusing on. And earlier this year, ArcGIS Online received FedRAMP moderate authorization, which doesn't really mean much for customers here in Canada. It's really big for US government customers. But it's an important security step as it signals that the software is designed to handle sensitive information. And with this release, we're continuing that security trend with the implementation of multi-factor authentication for ArcGIS Online organizational logins. So this allows you to implement multi-factor authentication, not just for your SAML logins, which is done through the IDP provider, but through the actual ArcGIS Online organizational logins. And I also wanted to take this time to highlight the ArcGIS Trust Center website. So this is a one-stop shop for all things security across the ArcGIS platform. I think it's a great resource, and not a lot of users know about it. So if you're looking to implement or are currently using the ArcGIS platform, it's a great place to have questions addressed and look at things surrounding privacy and security across Esri products. So you can check out the link in the full episode description at esri.ca/spatial report.
Great. Thanks so much, Carson. I know security is definitely a big ask for a lot of our users. It's becoming harder to make sure that our online stuff is safe and secure. So big ads. And like you said, a lot of these things are smaller, but they're maybe overlooked, but they're really important. And thank you for bringing them to our attention today.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me on.
That was Carson Smulders. He is now an enterprise support consultant for geodata at Esri Canada, and he's calling us today from Toronto.